Hi, everybody. It's Ayla, Wife with a Purpose here. And I have a awesome guest scheduled tonight. Vincent from Red Elephants is going to be joining us. I'm really excited. He is running just a little behind. He's finishing up some work, so he's going to join us in about 10 minutes. So I thought I'd go ahead and start the show because I saw that there were quite a few people waiting tonight. I thank you for joining us. I'm just going to do a little housekeeping here and kind of click over and make sure that I can see the chat. Hopefully my sound is great. If there's any problem with it, please let me know in the chat. And we'll just, you and the chat and I, will sit here and have a little talk while we're waiting for Vincent to come. Like I said, he just said he's running about 10 minutes late, finishing up some work. This is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to him. Anyone who follows James's, sorry, not James, Vincent James, he goes by Vincent James, so like it always wants to flip in my mind. The reason I wanted to have Vincent on this evening, Mr. Fox, if you call him that, maybe Mr. Fox, is that he obviously works so hard. He is such a hardworking guy. I mean, Red Elephants is putting out 3 videos a day on average, I think, sometimes 4, depending on what the news is doing. And not only that, but it's not just opinion. He's bringing incredibly informed analysis of what's going on, and he has it up almost immediately. It's absolutely amazing. And so he's living a life where he is working very hard. He's dropping everything to be right there present in the moment. And you know that when he's not on camera, he is reading books. He is really informing himself, not only on current events, but on a holistic look of human history. And he's done lots of other videos that aren't topical, but have to do more with, historical things and seeing current political events in their historical context. So you know that he's a hardworking man. And what's unique about him in our movement is he's a family man. Now, a lot of the higher ups in our movement, in the conservative movement today, or the whatever you want to call it, it tends to be pretty youth-based. And so a lot of people out there have great ideas. They're super motivated. They're bringing stellar content, but they don't have their own families yet, mostly just because they're, too young to have gotten started on that yet, or they're just getting started on that. And so what I love about him as well is that he's bringing a father's perspective. He's a father of several children, and he is a Catholic, so he's going to bring a Christian perspective, and I think that's amazing and really informs how powerful he is. And I am certainly great that he's on our side of things. I'm just going to scroll here through the chat really quick here. It looks like we got a lot of people talking already. Let's see. Someone says, if you're looking for something to watch before this starts, Red Ice is live now. Oh, that's awesome. Like I said, Vincent said he'd only be about 10 minutes late, so we should be starting with him pretty soon. Let's see. Red Elephant should be a major network, says Ashley James. I completely agree with that. Again, the quality of the content is amazing, and it far exceeds anything you would see on network television today, both not only just in production value, which is good. He's got a great setup, great camera, great mic, but also on delivery, and like I said, research, facts, history, all those good things that he brings to it. Definitely. He's the top of the game right now, I think, in politics, political commentary, educational matters. James Edwards says, Ayla, do you agree with time out for the kids for discipline? Oh, yes. We're big fans of time out in my house. Well, maybe we'll get some discipline tips as well from Vincent when he gets here. I'd like to hear. Some people don't like to talk about that simply because it's so controversial. And the way people are now, they tend to, dogpile on you, try to ruin your life if they don't agree with you. Sometimes it's hard to talk about different discipline strategies because there's so much judgment out there in one extreme and the other. Well, the chat is being a little bit difficult with me tonight. Trad Mama and based Red Elephant Daddy. Yeah, that was basically my view for the show. And I'm hoping that's the content we can bring to this evening. Oh, Lacey Lynn is here. Hi, Lacey. She says, hi, I have a lot of food planned. I'm excited. Oh. Yeah, she's talking about, somebody was asking about cooking during live streams. I did a live stream back in the very beginning of my YouTube career. I did a live stream where I was cooking pancakes at the same time. And at the time, my fan base tended to be very, very young men who were single. And they actually, a lot of them hated it. Excuse me. Still getting over this darn cold. Just a little bit left in my chest. At any rate, they kind of hated it. They were like, we want you more focused while you're tired, so whatever. So I haven't done those more. Lacey's production value is so far superior to mine. I am boomer tech over here. I mean, it's actually a miracle that I'm even coming to you all out there in internet land, because I am definitely not good at this at all. Alrighty. Well, he hasn't, let's see. It's 6:10 now my time. He hasn't emailed me and said he's later than his original estimate, so hopefully he'll be here in just a sec. What else? We're gonna talk about a lot today. We're gonna talk about you know, men and their views on having family and how that's formed and shaped, how that's discouraged in our modern day. We're going to be talking about what does Vincent feel is the main role of the man in the family, who his greatest role models are, how does he see fatherhood influencing his own politics, but then also how is fatherhood influencing what we call the MAGA movement, you know, the conservative movement, the dissident right, whatever you want to call it in America today. How is fatherhood influencing that movement? How does fatherhood play into, you know, Western demographic decline? What are the roles there? So we've got a lot of great questions. I hope you're able to stick around. Let me go over to the chat here for a sec. See. Oh, Sandusky Lawson, $10. Thank you. Here's for a Lego set for the kiddos. Keep up the great work. Well, I'll have to tell them that. They certainly love Legos, both my boys and my girls. My boys a little bit more than my girls, but my girls love Legos as well. That is a huge staple in our family. And it's actually one of my go-to recommendations when people say, oh, I've got there's a boy and he's like 11 years old and, you know, I don't want to get him, his birthday's coming up, but I don't want to get him, you know, video games or whatever, you know. What do you get like an 11-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy? And I just always, Legos. Some people say, you know, what do you do? What are maybe some of your secret weapons you keep in your purse for church, you know, when the kids are getting a little restless? And as long as your church has a carpeted floor, I don't recommend this if your church has a loud floor, like a wood floor or a tile floor. But if your church has a carpeted floor, and also preferably cushioned seats or cushioned benches, it might not work on a hard bench situation, but Legos. Keep a little baggie of Legos at the doctor's office when you're waiting at the doctor's office or the dentist's office. A lot of doctors and dentists these days, you know, they already have the kids' toys there. A lot of them have the iPads, which I'm not thrilled with. And I know I will definitely whip out an iPad every now and again for my kids in an emergency situation, particularly if I'm sick and I'm down and I just need them to be self-directing in a big way, so I can get a little rest. But I don't like how pervasive it's become. I certainly don't love, excuse me, I don't love iPads in church. That actually kind of gets under my skin a little bit. I'm like, oh, come on, we want to be teaching them to pay attention to what's going on, and I know it's hard, and so I'm not judging. I know it's hard, but the iPads at the dentist and the doctor kind of is like, well, could you set out some Legos? I don't know. Maybe people would pocket the Legos, but I just would really love it if you know we could kind of keep kids off this, because they're on the screens. Most kids are on the screens all the time anyways, so it's like we don't need extra. All right, our guest has arrived, it looks like.
Hey, how you doing? Can
Hey.
you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited that you said yes to this. I have just really wanted to just chat with you myself, and so I'm so glad I can also share you with my audience, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have a pretty unique discussion. I kind of want to come at some political issues and some social issues from more of you as a father, and how you being a father influences your outlook and your views. I was saying before you joined that one of the things I love about your channel, in addition to your high quality content and your great production value, is that I know that you are a father and you are a Christian. And so I feel like I can really trust a lot of the wisdom of how you're looking at not only current political events, but kind of putting them in historical context the way that you do. So for those whom I'm sure everybody here is probably familiar with you and your work, but for those who aren't, could you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Vincent. I have a channel called The Red Elephant's Vincent James. And yeah, I think that as far as, me being a father influencing my views on current and past political events or history and things like that, I think it has a lot to do with it. I think, when you become a parent, it completely changes your outlook and the way that you view the world. You view the world through a certain lens that is the lens of a parent. That is caring about the future of your children. I think that influences, that influences a lot of the approach that I take to certain things that happen, whether it be political or in life or whatever the case may be. I think that, when you look at your children, I have 3 kids, and when you look at them, I mean, it's just, you can't, I mean, it's just, they're just, you love them so much, and you want to see, you want them to grow up in a good place. You want them to grow up in a safe place. You want security for them. And this is a big reason why I think, a lot of the mainstream media always says, oh, what's wrong with why do white women, vote Republican and betray us and things like that. No, they're not betraying you. If they were to vote against border security, vote against these things, then their children, they know that they wouldn't have a future, and this is a fact. It's going to directly affect negatively the outlook and the future of their children if they were to go left on a lot of these issues. And so I think that being a parent certainly changes the way that you look at the world, definitely, in a big way. And me being a father, I want to do the things that my parents didn't do for me. I want to give my kids, you always want to be a better parent than who your parents were. And I think that just continues on. My kids will probably want to be better parents than I was. And I think that's certainly a good thing when you're constantly trying to change for the better, and constantly putting your children first in the moves that you make in life.
Yes, very well said. Putting your children first, having a little skin in the game. That's something that so many people out there right now don't have, because people are either putting off becoming parents until very late in life, or they're not doing it at all. So I kind of want to talk about a little bit, since it's just happened and it's kind of just in the news cycle. The government shutdown is apparently over. There's been some, some sort of maybe at least temporary compromise. So with border security and even with this recent news, what is your opinion of it, sort of in general? And then also, as a father, why are you interested in border security? Like, why is that an important issue for you and your family?
Well, I just gave my thoughts on this actually too. It's a continuing resolution, and like I said, I said in that video, I was like, we're going to be in the exact same position 3 weeks from now. There's going to be another government shutdown. The only benefit of doing this continuing resolution is to give these federal workers their back pay, and so that they can pay their mortgages and things like that. But I mean, we're going to be in the exact same position 3 weeks from now. So what are they going to do? Chuck Schumer came out and responded to Trump's speech, and he said that Democrats do not agree on the wall. I hope Trump and the White House learned a lesson. So obviously they're not willing to negotiate on obtaining the wall funding. Now, I guess this is probably a little bit selfish of me, but I did say that a couple days ago, I said, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to stream the State of the Union address on my channel. Now it seems like we're going to be able to stream the State of the Union address, because the government is going to be reopened and he will be able to use the House chamber, as Nancy Pelosi was barring him from using the House chamber to give the State of the Union address before. So we're going to have to see what that is all about, of course. But I just think that it doesn't make sense to me, honestly, because we're going to be right back on the same position 3 weeks from now. So we'll have to see what happens. I don't know. Obviously, someone's saying something, so we just don't know.
Right. Yeah. I think my first desperate hope, is that, he's got a long-term strategy here, and that this is, part of that this is, one piece of the puzzle that's really going to make more sense over time.
Right. Well, I don't think, I don't know if Trump, it seems like, because there was a CNN report that said that the White House was preparing documents to declare a national emergency just yesterday at 5 o'clock. I went over it on the channel. They were preparing to draft this national emergency order. Obviously, it's like going back and forth. So I'm not sure that, I think that they're just kind of like playing it as the cards come out to them. Honestly, unfortunately, that's the way it is. This is what you get, of course, when you have a man in office that doesn't really have the political experience, doesn't really understand the legislative process. And this is not a knock on Trump. I'm just saying that it's, he needs to get a hold of the legislative process before he understands it completely. I mean, there's many things that I would have done, and I'm not saying that like I should be president of the United States or anything like that. It's just that I understand the process a lot, and I think that there's a few things that could have been done differently. But again, like I said, CNN had this exclusive story that they were drafting the national emergency to declare it, and it didn't happen. So were they planning on? Then they didn't. It comes oddly right after a time that Roger Stone was just arrested by the FBI and raided. CNN was there waiting at 5 a.m. before the raid even happened. That's weird. Seems like they were tipped off by someone. Had to be someone within the Mueller probe. So lots of strange things going on here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And I've almost given up being able to sort it all out myself. I'm just really confused about Trump, and especially putting the whole past 2 years in context. He tends to do this. He kind of seems like he's getting really serious about something, and then it kind of rambles on and it batters back and forth. And I feel like on one hand we have a victory, and then we have a huge setback. Roger Stone seems like a huge setback to me, because it just shows the power that they're still able to wield over nothing, and that's frightening to me. So yeah.
Well, it's like it's like the modern day way of assassination. So, I mean, it would be too obvious if someone just assassinated Trump, right? So what do they have to do? They have to get the guys to find some other way. I mean, come on. If they didn't want to take him down, none of this would be happening. Like if Hillary Clinton would have won, none of this would have been happening. This investigation was ordered for 2 years, and it's just been ongoing. They're taking down man after man after man for, quote, a lot of them are just for, quote, lying or something, something obviously ridiculous. So it's you have to look at this and say, okay, this is they're really trying to take him down any way that they can. The question is, why are they trying to? And that's a lot. That's a big question that a lot of people can't really sort out. And Tucker talked about this. Tucker Carlson, he said that Trump doesn't really know how to wield executive power. He doesn't really know. And I think that maybe William Barr can help him out with this, but he doesn't really know how to stand strong and get things done. He doesn't really understand the legislative process yet. And Tucker talked a lot about this. His biggest promise was getting the wall done. And it seems like a big fight, obviously. Can't even get the State of the Union address done because they barred him from using the House chamber. So it's just kind of a thing. It's almost like there's like a learning curve. And then you also have someone hunting you down, trying to take you down from within the government as well at the same time. I'm sure it's got to be stressful as hell.
Oh yeah, totally. And I tend to grant him a lot of grace in that. I know a lot of people kind of get a little short-tempered with him, but I try to keep both of those things you just mentioned in mind when looking at what he's doing and what he isn't doing. Let's see. We've got super chat here. Let me see where it was. Oh, I think I might have lost it there. The comment section isn't being easy on me today. Okay, so Truck My Ad says, propose a toast to white parents, cheers. So that actually formulated a question in my mind. What is your background? Do you know much about your ancestry and how they came to America? Do you know much about that?
Sorry, I was just trying to find the comment for you. I was just trying to pull up the thing, and it went through the thing. It went through the microphone.
That's okay.
Let's see here. So as far as like DNA goes, I actually have it. Someone they like changed it. It was super weird how the 23andMe like gave me a notification, and they like changed something, and I noticed that they added something, and I was hoping it wasn't like 1% Ashkenazi or something. So let me. No, it wasn't.
They updated mine recently too. I think they must have refined their methods or something recently.
Let me see. Okay, ancestry composition: 36% British and Irish, 26% Italian, 7.6% French and German. And okay, so this is what they added: 4.8% Spanish and Portuguese, which is interesting because my wife's bloodline is mostly Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. So very similar bloodlines there. Aside from the Irish, the Irish is what I'm mostly, which is really weird because my mom's parents. My mom's grandparents are from Italy. My dad's grandparents, I believe, come from Ireland. He doesn't really know his family. He's not really close with his family. He grew up kind of on the streets, my dad. But yeah, so they mostly Irish. It's weird because, like I said, I got more of my dad's DNA, which is kind of strange. I didn't know that it could work out like that. British and Irish is what I'm mostly, and then Italian is what is basically the rest. But then you have some French and German, and then Spanish and Portuguese is what they added.
Yeah, that's interesting because they took my Spanish and Portuguese away. So originally in my ancestry result was almost exactly half German, half British. It was 40% British, 50% German with 5% Irish. And then like, I think it was 2 or 3% Spanish, Portuguese, and like 1% Greek, 1% Finnish or something, like a couple like little 1%ers. And then they redid it. And now I'm like 83% British Isles, so Irish, British, and then like only 8% German. And they completely took away my Greek, my Finnish, my Portuguese, Spanish.
Oh, really?
All of it, and it's basically replaced with Scandinavian. So that little bit left that isn't British Irish is Scandinavian. So that was really surprising to me. So, but
did you go through 23andMe or?
I went through Ancestry.com, but they seem to have,
too.
Yeah, they seem to have updated at the same time that 23andMe did.
Right.
And everybody got notifications. So I think that it just must be that some kind of science came back. My husband's updated as well. My son's updated, which was really crazy because they took away all of his German, all of his Spanish, Portuguese, which wasn't very much, but now he's 99% British IELTS. So like he only got that from myself and his father. Like we only passed British genes to him. Like we didn't even give him any German or anything, Scandinavian, nothing. So anyways, it's very interesting. But
let me screen here. Let me just show you real quick. I wonder if I can. I'm going to screen share real quick.
Okay.
If you click on me, it should pop up.
Let's see.
If you just click on my picture.
Yeah, I clicked on your picture, so hopefully that's working. They'll let us know in the chat.
Seeing the map here?
Yeah.
Okay. So they also have 14% broadly Northwest European, which is weird because isn't that what British and Irish is? Isn't that what French and German is? I don't know. But broadly, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that's just stuff they don't know what to do with. They know it's Caucasian, but that's about it.
Right. And then it says Western Asian and North African, 3.7%. So I could basically say the N-word if I wanted to.
Oh my goodness. You're my mixed race friend now.
3.7, but I don't know what really Western Asian. So it breaks it down here. Western Asian, 2.7%, which is, I don't know, probably like Egyptian or something. And then broadly Western Asian and North African. Once again, that's probably comes from like the Italy thing.
You know what I'm thinking? I mean, since there's so much Italian, yeah, it's coming from the Italy. It's probably coming from one of those Muslim invasions. One of those Muslims probably, and I mean this, with all due respect, probably raped one of your ancestors. To be honest,
probably.
Like that's probably where that comes from.
Right.
Exactly. Like I don't want to be like a downer about that, but yeah, but you could apply for some college scholarships or something as
I can get affirmative action now.
A person of color, yeah.
Right.
Definitely, and you've got the test to prove it. If they doubt you in any way, you've got the science behind it there. Let's see. So we've had some questions in the comment section about. Now, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with how much you've shared about your personal life online. So please feel free to not answer questions if you don't want to, of course. But somebody said, why do you not homeschool your children?
There's a few reasons for that. It's because of I don't really want to answer that without giving away too much, but there's a few reasons. I might be able to soon, so we'll have to see what happens.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just add to that I know somebody kind of in my social circle who doesn't homeschool. And when I first met this family, I thought, oh my goodness, they seem like prime homeschooling candidates. Why don't they homeschool? And I, was having a hard time wrapping my brain around it. And then I found out that the mother in this family has a chronic ongoing illness. And so, it's not possible really for her to be able to put that kind of attention in. But in fact, she just spent quite a lot of time in the hospital with the flu. And so I always try to caution people and say that, when somebody's not homeschooling, but they seem like they have a lifestyle that you would think they would homeschool, then they probably have a really, really good reason to not do it. So,
right.
Try not to judge them on that. And also, illnesses and things like that are also something people don't, go blaringly talking about. So we should all grant each other a little grace on that and realize that people have very good reasons for what they're doing. So I'll just throw that in there just as a personal note from me, because I know I can fall into that trap sometime of being too judgmental and thinking, well, this family should be doing this, but everybody has good reasons.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what's going on. Yeah, there's reasons. So we just have to wait and see what happens though with how things unfold, but we'll see.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. So when you were growing up, did you always think that you would be a father and a family man? Was that something that you aspired to, or was that something that kind of clicked for you once you were an adult? How did that come to pass for you?
No, I always wanted to be a father. Always. Yeah. I always had this, I don't know. I always said that I was going to be a father, was going to raise kids. And I made sure it happened. Really young too, by the way, really young.
Yeah, I was going to say I was actually surprised when I saw that you were on Instagram and then I clicked over on your profile and you had some pictures of your kids. They were older than I thought that they would. Not that they're old, but you seem very young to me. And I mean, I don't know how old you are, but you seemed
No,
younger.
I was born in 1986. I'm only 32 years old. I'm young, for parents' standards, right? I'm young, but
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
getting older. But yeah, no, I had my first kid when I was 19, 19 years old.
Oh, just
Yeah.
like my husband. So,
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 20 years old, I
okay.
think, was my
Yeah.
first kid. But I was
Excellent.
19 when we got married. Yeah. So we
Hmm.
got married, had a kid. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
and then 21, another kid. And then 24, the third kid, 25, third kid. Right. So,
Wow, that's amazing. That's really incredible. I really like that because I think that our society puts too much shame. Now, there's definitely people that should not be getting married and having children that young. Definitely people that are emotionally, mentally not mature enough. But I think that our society puts too much shame on young parenthood. And I think just jumping into it, I mean, because what else are you going to do with those years of your life? Like go to college and join a fraternity and get drunk all the time, or like, I don't know, smoke weed or whatever. I mean, you might as well like get married, start a
or get,
family. Like,
yeah, or get financially stable and things like that. Like everyone
yeah.
wants to say, or like what the top reason is can't afford childcare. I think from other polls that I've seen before. So I think that the childcare thing should be something that that could be squeaked into a policy here in the near future, possibly by the federal government. I would certainly be on board with something like that. As far as like being financially stable enough to have kids, that never comes. The place where you want to be at, it's never going to come. Don't wait too long. If you have a chance, and we were in an apartment. I was not emotionally stable when I was 19 years old. Come on, I was a 19-year-old boy. You know what I mean? So there's no way that I was really ready for kids, but I wanted to get it done and out of the way before I started getting old, because I wanted to get it done before it became, because by the time I'm 40, my
Mhm.
kids will be 20 and out of the house. Hopefully, we'll have to see about
Right.
that, but they'll be able to watch themselves, pretty soon. So I'll have the whole rest of my years to be able to focus on doing things and doing things with the wife, or maybe traveling, who knows. But the main priority is making sure that we give something down, we have some assets to pass down to our children as we grow old and die. This is something that the baby boomer generation didn't do too good of a job at, and also that with lots of other things that we can blame them for. But yeah, so those are the top two priorities, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. And my husband had a similar outlook on it. He wanted to have a lot of kids. He wanted to have them young so that when he was in his 40s and 50s, he had kind of like his own little tribe of adult people that he could like hang out with, and it would be like really cool, to have your adult kids while you're still young enough to really be able to enjoy them and do things, with them as adults, even, travel or, whatever. And he thought that would be really neat to have that kind of relationship, because obviously you can't be a friend to your kid while they're a child, because you have to guide them and nurture them and discipline them, but you can really be a friend to them when they're older, if that works out when they're adults. And so he's looking forward to that. But that was my husband's own philosophy, so that's really cool.
Right.
um
No, it was like prime example would be when we went to Tahoe, and we kind of it was pre-obligated, but we kind of turned it into like, okay, let's all go, and decided to slide down. I decided to go sledding with my kids and sled down dangerous hills with my kids and things like that. I'm not doing that when I'm 50. It's just not happening. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Do it when I'm 30. It's better.
definitely. So who were your biggest role models maybe growing up? I mean, or did you have any? Was there somebody that you looked to that made you want to be a father, that was in your life, that was a great example of fatherhood?
A role model, I would say my dad. My dad, I would say probably, my dad worked like three jobs. He would get up at one, once we moved out of Chicago, he worked, 2 hours away, and he would get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning every day. He went to work, worked another job after that, worked another job after that. And, in the meantime, I would go to work with him sometimes. He would take me to, we spend a lot of our time at, I grew up in the Midwest. So like the Home Depot of the Midwest was called Menards. And there's this, it's like a Home Depot store. And I would love going on trips to the Home Depot of the Midwest and be able to travel on the cart that has like the flatbed cart and ride on the flatbed cart, and the smell of the wood and the sawdust and stuff like that. Like all those memories, traveling in the car, listening to like 50s music, those were great memories. And I think that that's probably what really kind of made me want to be a father, or just have children in general. And I think my mom was, again, we're very close to both parents. My mom would read to us at night, read us books at night and stuff like that, sing to us. She would sing, she would always sing this song, Edelweiss, from Sound of Music, right? Is that's where that's
Yeah.
from? And so she would always sing that. And like, so very, very good nurture, you know what I mean? Good nurture in nature from the parents.
Oh, that's awesome. So many people, I think, your age don't have stories like that about their parents. There's a lot of divorce, and there's a lot of being very distant and not emotionally connected and not forming a lot of memories. I think people that were born kind of in the 80s and 90s were one of the first generations to kind of grow up in a lot of broken homes and not have a lot of strong role models. So that's amazing that you had such a good one that helped you formulate what kind of man and father that you wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, they had their share of arguments and stuff like that. I remember growing up all the time. They had their share of arguments, certainly. I mean, it got less and less, as time went on. But still, I mean, there was times when it was just like, wow, damn, like they're really screaming upstairs. Like, they're going at each other up there. Like, wow. So, but I guess, just kind of like the saying, stay together for the kids. I mean, obviously, if there's some things going on there that like, but like typical arguments, they figured out a way to work through it. They went through like some counseling and stuff like that and things like that. So it all turned out good. Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest reasons why I talk about broken homes and single parent households and things like that, is being the effects of that, the proven effects and the statistics behind it, is because I even see it. I see it with a lot of, friends that my kids have and things like that. I see how some act versus the ones who have both parents in the home act. And, I mean, there's certainly some anomalies there and some examples of, growing up okay. But we have to go off of the averages. And what I see, perfect examples, and what I see from the statistics of it, perfect examples of why that's certainly something that we should be warning people about and talking about constantly if we possibly can. The reason why the media doesn't talk about it is because 85% of single women vote for the Democratic Party, and that's millions upon millions of people within a voting block that they want to sustain. So, broken homes really isn't on top on their priority list, obviously.
Oh, definitely. It's the mothers, the single mothers, and then a lot of times the children that they produce that are going on to vote Democrat as well. I mean, we've seen a lot of those kind of viral videos of inner city people making videos about, well, I'm going to vote. I know this was happening last election cycle. I saw a lot of these. Well, I'm voting for Clinton because Donald Trump's going to take my mama's food stamps away, And so they kind of grow up with this idea that if they don't vote Democrat, like their mother's going to, their poor single mom is going to die. She's going to lose her benefits and all of this sort of thing. And so it really, not only do they get that woman's vote, but they typically will get the votes of those children once they're grown. And so then those children have a higher chance of entering the legal system, as
60% of federal prisoners are born into fatherless homes. You have 70% of teen pregnancies are girls who grew up in fatherless homes, and 60% of people who commit suicide grew up in fatherless homes. So it's very concerning, certainly. And we went from, I mean, as far as the white population goes, went from 6% to about 30% from the
Mm-hmm.
1950s to today. So, and every single racial category has had a dramatic increase in the amount of fatherless homes. And then we could talk about prescription drugs. That's something that
Mm-hmm.
that's something that only if needed would I ever give to my children or allow my children to have. Uh, we went from 5%, I think, to about a quarter of all children who are prescribed with one or more multi-class psychotropic drug, because you have all these parents who are so quick to believe in the ADHD and all that stuff, and it's very concerning. A warning to parents: let's keep it calm with the Adderall prescriptions here, because it's getting out of hand.
Yeah, and I think that that's a symptom of the single motherhood as well as the
Could
feminism
be.
telling women to have children later. I would say, as an anecdotal observation, I don't have statistics behind this, but when you're a woman and you have children later in life, in your 30s or your later 30s, and then when you lose the father and not being in the home, and so you're in your 40s at this point, you're working a full-time job, you're coming home, and your 10-year-old is bouncing off the walls, as 10-year-olds sometimes tend to do. You're simply exhausted, you're old, and you have no one to help you. And that's when I think a lot of these women are really very easily talked into, well, just drug them,
Right.
because they're kind of seeing their children's adolescence as a phase to just get through it, because again, they're working, they're older, they're tired, and they have young children and no help. And so they're just like holding on for dear life. And so it's like, okay, if I just medicate them right now, then I can deal with it. And I think that's a huge symptom of the fatherlessness as well, particularly because fathers not only are just physical help, but their discipline, their structure for a home. Even when the
Right.
father isn't a very harsh disciplinarian, having a father there really gives a backbone and a structure to a family that you don't realize until they're not there and everything falls apart.
Yeah, I think you have to click on you have to click on if you I think you have me selected the entire time. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
basically
Sorry.
only showing me. I
From the
think you have
screen
to,
share.
right, you have to click on me one more time.
Hold on. There we
Yeah,
go. Okay, sorry
there
about
we
that,
go.
guys.
Yeah, no worries. Um, no, yeah, I think why we have well, I'm not going to say anything, but I know people that have two parents in the home, or kids that have two parents in the home, that are super hyperactive. Um, Obviously in those situations, okay, but let's not be quick to just give these kids these drugs that'll
Mhm.
drastically make them either completely docile or give them a chemical imbalance in their brain, or whatever the case may be. But I just think that it's dangerous. It's certainly dangerous, and it could be
Mhm.
one causing the other, or the other one causing the other. I mean, it's certainly perpetual when you look at it. If you really want to critically think about it, like, is it the single parent households increase that's causing the increase in children being prescribed with multi-class psychotropic drugs, or is it the other way around? Is it because children are being prescribed with multi-class psychotropic drugs because their parents are just don't want to deal with it? I mean, there's so many things, so many factors that go into it, so many statistics that I've looked at that really doesn't bring me to one particular conclusion, except it brings me to multiple conclusions that just lead me to being completely blackpilled about the future of society, which that's a road that I want to try to figure out how not to go down. So
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. I definitely have my black pill moments, and I think it's a cascading effect. Again, you've got the fatherlessness, and so the mothers, don't have any help, and then you've got them in the workforce, and even for mothers who do have fathers in the home, a lot of them are in the workforce. We don't have very many stay-at-home moms, and definitely if you have a hyperactive child or a special needs child, and you have a mom that's able to stay home with that child and give that child more attention, or meet the special needs that child has, it's definitely going to um, lessen the need for medication, for sure. So there's so many different attacks on traditional gender roles, getting getting fathers out of the house, making divorce okay, all of these things. And then that also lead to the increase in drugs and just our society's increased acceptance with popping a pill for whatever ails you at the time, I think that's a general
Right.
problem too.
I think if you imagine like a line of dominoes, and this kind of goes back to the determinism argument, which I just hate to get into because I've been talking about it and asked about it for a long time. But if you look at a row of dominoes and you have, one of those dominoes is, let's say, for instance, um, fatherless homes. You have another domino that's children being prescribed with multi-class psychotropic drugs. You have another domino in there that says that children aren't really getting out and playing like they used to back in the 90s. You have another domino in there that says that some states prosecute parents for letting their 12-year-old out alone, which is a true story. I mean, there's many states who are trying to pass laws that are free-range kids laws, so that they don't prosecute parents for letting their 12-year-old out alone. But when I was a kid, if we were rambunctious, we'd get on our bike and we'd go out and play until the street lights came on, and then we'd be tired out and dirty and just playing in the mud and all around the neighborhood, getting chased by the older kids, getting beat up by the older kids, whatever. That's what we used to do. So you have all these different factors that go into why society is on the downturn. And then you have the ideological subversion that is happening at the very tip top of our whoever, our ruling class or whatever you want to say is doing this. And those things, I think, all obviously play a big role. I mean, we have to get back to letting our kids out. And obviously it's scary because, we always see stories and this and that, and you see movies and kidnappings and blah, 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 blah. But I think that that's really, really super important that the kids be able to get out and waste energy. Otherwise, they're going to be, that this is the reason why. I mean, everything is connected, but which starts which, I don't know. I don't know which is in the predeterminism argument. I don't know which is where we went wrong. I mean, you could say we went all the way wrong back all the way at the welfare state, which led to all of this together. Maybe that's what came first. What came before that, though? So you can get into like this constant thinking, which I do quite often, and trying to think this through, which it's never productive, but whatever.
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm thinking that through, I can go back at least to the French Revolution as far as like when we got off track, if not
Right.
before that. So yeah, you can kind of get in, but I think the long and the short of it is, particularly in the past 2 generations, we have just been absolutely bombarded from all areas, from media and from politics and from immigration, and public schooling, the changes that have taken place there, and as far as what they teach children now, and all of these things, as well as divorce, the divorce laws, making it such that you didn't have to have a good reason to get a divorce. You used to have to kind of prove in court that you had a darn good reason for getting divorced. Now you just say, oh, irreconcilable differences, and anyone can have a quickie divorce. And so it just became an easy option. There's just so many different things in the past 2 generations that have just really bombarded Americans, Westerners, white people.
You can say Roe v. Wade too.
Oh gosh, yeah, I totally left that out. Right.
You can say, and when you look at the someone mentioned the Federal Reserve in the chat and the gold standard, going off the gold standard. Yeah, I mean that certainly plays a part in it. But I'm just talking in terms of how kids are acting nowadays, how kids are nowadays, kids being staying in their house, being secluded. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things, but yeah, I think the Roe v. Wade plays a part in it. I think the welfare state plays a part in it. I think kids not getting out and playing in the streets and riding their bikes. I mean, the streets used to be full of kids riding their bikes. We used to know exactly where our friends were by how many bikes were outside of a particular house in the neighborhood. That's how we knew where our friends were. There was no cell phones or anything like that. There was landlines. And you would be lucky to even get your own landline in your own room in the house. That's like for the rich people. And I was growing up. And it's a drastic change in just 20, 30 some odd years. It's a big, big change. And I think that all of these things come together. But but the question is, there is certainly a domino effect that happens. I mean, this leads to that, that leads to this leads to that, and you have to go back to, what did we do? Was it this particular change that we made, or was it these three changes? And then we have to fix those if we really truly care about where society's going. It seems like no one really does, though.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that families can be doing, just even on an individual basis, to kind of, even if just within your own home, kind of turning some of this around? What stands out to you as some of the key things that parents and families should be focusing on to create a healthier childhood and a healthier family structure?
I would just say being involved in the kid's life as much as possible. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
basically what I would say. I mean, being involved in their homework, reading to them is a big one. Yeah, I would say reading to them, taking them places. Like, for instance, like, I'll take turns with my kids taking them places, whether it be just super small, like to a store or something like that. It doesn't have to cost money. Taking them to the park, riding bikes with them is something I do a lot. Putting them in sports and activities, that's certainly a good thing. As
Mm-hmm.
many as you possibly can. I mean, just typical common sense stuff, right? I mean, just common sense. Gives them, lots of attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really think of anything special that I do
Yeah.
aside
No,
from
but
just trying to do the best I can.
yeah, I
You know,
agree with you. I think just having that awareness and that focus, and every family is going to have a little bit different family culture as far as like, oh, do they watch TV, or do they, what books do they read? What church do they go to? All of those sorts of things are going to vary family by family. But just having that level of intention that you're kind of, you're not coming home from work at the end of the day and just turning on TV and tuning out the kids, but you're really thinking about, how am I spending time with them? Do they feel like they can come to me with questions? Do I answer their questions when they do? Do we have good family discussions about things? Not just, social things or political things once they get old enough to ask those questions, but also just those questions of growing up and all of those things that we would want our children to come to somebody older and wiser, to help them figure it out and help keep them on a good path. I know that you've mentioned before being a Catholic, and so you were talking about abortion a minute ago, Roe versus Wade. How are you feeling on the new New York law that just passed in regards to abortion and, basically lethal injection for babies up to the moment of birth? Um, do you see that as symptomatic of our larger social decline? How are you feeling about that?
I think it's pure evil. I
Mhm.
couldn't believe that. That made me really kind of sick to hear about that. And I ranted about that too, or a couple days ago or yesterday or something. But yeah, I think that it's really concerning. That's concerning. That just shows you give an inch, they take a mile, and
Oh yeah.
they'll go even further than that if they could, and they probably will. So we'll have to see. And unfortunately, this probably lays ground for other states to follow and do the same in their state legislature. And this is why it's so important to vote. A lot of people say it's not important to vote, but that's because they typically maybe either don't understand the legislative process, don't understand how politics work. But that's the governor. Okay, that's Cuomo.
Hmm.
And the governor can veto a bill. So it's, you imagine your state, it acts like the federal government. You have the governor, you have you have municipalities, and you have your state legislature, which passes laws for your state. This is the essence of federalism. I mean, if you know about federalism, then you should understand this. This is the essence of federalism. States' rights. The state legislature passes a bill, governor can veto it or sign it into law into the state legislature for the state. And this is why it's important to vote for your representatives within the state that you live, especially because in the state that you live, because of federalism. And this is, the federal government is another story, but your state legislature, it's very important to make sure you get the right people in there. Otherwise, you're contributing to, and if you voted for Andrew Cuomo, you're contributing to essentially genocide. This is what's going on here. We're talking about killing babies up until the moment of birth. Now, some people would make the argument, oh, don't worry, it's only, 1% or 2% of births overall, nationally. Yeah, 1% of the amount of abortions that happen in this country is a lot of people who are being killed up to the moment of birth. That's insane, and we shouldn't be justifying these things. If the more you justify, the more that they're going to take, and it's going to get even worse. This is pure evil, and I can't understand. And like I said in the video, this boggles my mind. How in the world can Black Americans support abortion when, in that state, in particular, New York, more Black children are being aborted than born? In New York City, sorry, in the city, more Black children are being aborted than born, but yet they overwhelmingly support it. Not sure why, but that's the way it is. So we'll have to see. But it's overall, I say in quantity, it's more white children who are aborted, but it's per 1,000 women, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how anyone can support this. And up until the moment of birth, that is that's absolutely dreadful to me. And then when you look at the statistics and you see that 45% of women who have abortions have had abortions before, that just shows me there's pure evil that exists in this world, in this country.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I actually, it's taken me a couple of days to process the New York thing. A couple of people on social media have asked me, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? And that's kind of all I can stammer at right now, is to say it's evil. Like I actually had to go and read up on it. I'm like, this can't be what I've heard it is. Like, this can't be true. It's one of those just mind-blowing, and it seemed to, I don't know if there was a lot of lead up to it, but it really hit me out of nowhere. I didn't even quite realize that New York was even considering this until it had already happened. I think it snuck up on a lot of people, even people who are pretty active in the pro-life movement, such as myself. And I was absolutely flabbergasted. But I think you make a wonderful point about local politics. I think that on the national level, kind of a Trump versus Clinton is really good in sport to watch. It's really fun. Everybody gets involved. You got your team, and it's like the Super Bowl. But we really, really have to be involved at a local level, even just something as small as your county seats, the people on the registrar, like just even people making zoning laws. These things can drastically affect your life, particularly when there's that domino effect of having bad people at the bottom all the way up to the top. Then they can just push through these overwhelmingly devastating laws that really affect
And the school board
people.
too.
Oh,
Like,
yes,
the school board is
definitely.
really important too. If you don't homeschool, if you send your kids to school, the school board's extremely important.
And even
Yeah,
if you do homeschool, because your kids have to still have friends and interact, usually in a neighborhood, with children who go to public school. I mean, I'm heavily invested in how the public schools are behaving and what they're teaching and what they're allowing, because I can't just keep my children locked in a cage that they never interact with other children. And they have to have friends, and a lot of those friends go to public school, and
right.
those children are going to grow up. When I'm old, they're going to be running the country, and I want them to have a good solid foundation if I can. And right now it's just pure garbage. It's transgenderism and teaching masturbation in kindergarten, and all of these absolutely insane and absurd things that are really starting our kids off to lead very sad adult lives if they continue with those ideologies, for sure.
Yeah, I think that certainly there has to be some sort of a social interaction, whether that be via sports, whether that be via, you're putting your kids in the same sports that other kids are in, that who are in the school nearby, or whatever the case may be, just so that they have some sort of social interaction. That's probably really, really important. It cannot be just like, off on their own little island, not having any sort of social interaction, because in the long run, that's terrible for them psychologically and socially and all the rest. But yeah, I think that that's certainly something to consider.
Yeah, so I think we all need to be, even people who don't have children need to be heavily invested in what's going on in the public schools. Because again, like I said, when we're old, those people are going to be running the world. So we want the best people we can have. So you mentioned a little bit before, I think we'll kind of wrap up here in just a bit because we've gone just slightly over an hour at this point. But you were mentioning white women being maybe the majority of abortions, or at least it heavily impacting the white community in America. Where do you see fatherhood as fitting in with this sort of really devastating demographic decline that ethnically European people are seeing across the Western nations, and particularly in America?
Yeah. What am I seeing? What was the question exactly? I'm
Well,
sorry.
how do you see fatherhood fitting into that? So I know we've talked a little bit about single motherhood and stuff and things like that. How do you see fatherhood as fitting into is the lack of fathers helping to contribute to the high abortion rate? Is it maybe that fatherhood and masculinity in general has been eroded, and so now we're just allowing all of this almost like crazy feminization of things, where these feminists are pushing for laws like this New York abortion law, and that things that are impacting the demographics in the white community? Do you see fatherhood is playing into that, and how can fathers help turn this, and I would say actually men in general, manly men, real men, masculine men, the kind Gillette
Yeah.
hates. How
Right.
how
Right.
can you
Right.
guys play a role in helping to right the ship of demographic decline that we're, heading for the iceberg?
It would be pretty. It would be pretty interesting to see like some like men's rights group or something emerge from this entire thing to demand that they have a decision in the abortion of a child or something like that. I would say, as far as like the abortion goes, though, I think overall per 1,000 women, it's actually on the decline since 1970, since Roe v. Wade passed. From the last statistics that I saw, it's not increasing as far as because yeah, from the Gut Marker Institute, it's actually decreasing. But I don't know if I'm not sure if kind of like this has like a trickle down effect, or if there's any relation to abortion being supported. I mean, it was all based on a lie. It was based on Rose saying that she was raped when she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, and then she comes out later and says she lies about the entire thing. So the whole Me Too and believe all women thing is just completely a farce to begin with, because it's all kind of rooted in this whole Roe v. Wade argument. As far as the percentage overall nationally, yes, more births that end in abortion are by white women, because they're the largest portion of the population. But when you actually look into the statistics, like I said, per 1,000, which is really what matters when you're looking at the per capita rate per 1,000, it's the highest for the Black community. Second is the Hispanic community, and then third is the white community, and then the
Mm-hmm.
Asian community hardly even registers on the abortion statistics. It's like in a lot of these states, like East Asians in particular, they don't even register. They don't even have abortions. So I think it's interesting how it matches up with the bell curve, and how it matches up with lots of other things as far as the rate per 1,000 women. But yeah, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure. I think that men certainly need to become stronger. I think men certainly need to have a say in what these women, the women's right to choose is just ridiculous. Let's be honest here. You're taking a life, and the fact that 45% of all women do it twice, and 25% of all women do it more than twice, that just goes to show you that they're just like, yeah, let's kill. They get like some sort of like almost like a endorphin release from from killing babies. It seems from what I can see. Why in the world would you keep doing that? Number one. Number two, it just goes to show you the irresponsibility in our society as well, and the problem that we're having with a lot of the younger generation being irresponsible, not using, whatever condoms or contraceptives or whatever. They're living in a world where their problems can just go away, like
Mm-hmm.
where they think that their problems can just go away. Oh, my problem, get rid of my student debt. take it off. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Get rid of my baby. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Just cut it out. Things like that. And I think that I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how people can live with themselves after doing that, honestly, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them don't. I think that's part of the thing that isn't talked about in the abortion debate is what it does to the woman as well. It murders the child, but it also destroys a lot of women's lives, and a lot of women have severe, psychological problems following divorce. They've done numerous studies on this and shown that the rates of depression and suicidal thoughts and all this, as you can well imagine, for some of these women is astounding. But then, like you said, there is that segment of just pure evil where they're it's like almost like they're getting an endorphin rush off of the ritualistic murder of children.
Right. I mean, because you just scroll through some of these reports, Guttmacher Institute, the CDC report, Management of Unattended and Abnormal Pregnancy report. I mean, you just scroll through some of these reports. 2016, 913,000 abortions in 2015, 885 abortions in 2016. 2017 was 882. I mean, it is going down overall, even though the population is increasing, which is certainly, I guess, a good thing. But that's because we're also having less births too.
Right.
So
yeah.
we're getting, people are getting pregnant less. So that can also play a role in it too. I don't know. I mean, it's super weird, especially when you see 25% of women who are having abortions had more than 2 abortions before. That's crazy to me. In 2014, the highest percentage of pregnancies were aborted in the District of Columbia, 38%, New York, 33%. Like I said, more Black children are aborted than born in New York City. New Jersey, 30%. The lowest percentage of pregnancies were aborted in Utah, South Dakota, and Wyoming. It seems like the least diverse states are having the least abortions.
Yes, isn't that fascinating? And also, of course, a lot of conservative people living in those areas, emphasis on big families in those areas, a lot of support for that as well. I think that plays a lot into it as well, because as a woman, I know, and I don't know if your family got this kind of blowback too, but once you pass 2 kids, once you have that 3rd kid, you will openly be ridiculed in public sometimes. I know that once we got to 3 kids, we lived in California at the time, Northern California, but we would go grocery shopping and people would have no problem coming up to my family and telling us that we had too many children. That we were a problem, for having 3 children at the time,
I don't know. It's weird. Like in my neighborhood, most people have 3 or more kids. I don't know. Awesome. I've never experienced that before. Maybe it was like exactly where you were living or something. Or
it might
really
be
snobby or like really didn't like kids or something. I don't know. But so it looks like I'm just looking here. Look, overall from 2000 to 2018, abortions have decreased by 6%. But once again, I mean, it's because people are having less births.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Doubled between 1973 and 79, of course, because of Roe v. Wade. Decreased from 1990s. From 2000 to 2017, it decreased 6% overall. So I guess we're on a good trend. We're on a good trend, but still pure evil. 27%. Okay, among unmarried women, 27% of pregnancies end in abortion. Mm-hmm. Among married women, 4% of pregnancies currently end in abortion. So there you go. There's that big factor there: married and unmarried.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that
very
would be
few that are having children before 20 years old. Very, very few, single-digit percentages. So it's not because they're single young mothers. It's mostly because they're good aged. They're right there from age 20 to 35, which is the time where you want to have kids for a woman, at least. For men, it could be whenever. Unfortunately, we have that. We can just keep going for the most part. But yeah, it seems like, and again, it's only 0.05% are because of rape, and like a very small percentage, less than 1%, are because of health concerns of the woman dying. But in New York, they recategorized the baby, so there's no more double homicides there, from what I've read.
Oh my goodness, really? I didn't realize that.
That's from what I've read, from what I've seen so far. They also said that they kind of like made the law very, very kind of broad, so that a woman can just say, oh, I'm going to have anxiety disorder if I have this child or something, and that could be the affect health
Hmm.
variable that they need to be able to abort their child, up until birth, which is very concerning, certainly. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think that with those statistics of the high rate of single mothers, having abortion as opposed to married women, I think that that might be an inkling into the answer to the question I posed earlier, and where does fatherhood fit into this? And so encouraging intact families, encouraging fatherhood, encouraging, no sex before marriage, traditional families, structures, looks like it would drastically cut down on the rates of abortion as well, and would hopefully maybe help the demographic decline that white Westerners are facing currently. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Let my audience know where they can find your work, as well as how they can support you.
Yeah, no, just the Red Elephants, Vincent James on YouTube, the Red Elephants on Facebook. But most importantly, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell here on this channel that you're watching this on. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for coming. This was a really great discussion. And I hope that everybody out there watching this evening enjoyed the topic that we had to discuss tonight. And I hope you guys are looking forward to a wonderful weekend. And I will catch you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me on. Bye.